Hi team, welcome back to our Introduction to Canadian History Anchor Fact series of printables and mini lessons. We have seen that Canada remained loyal to the British Empire during the American Revolution. The question we will begin to answer today is, how then did Canada become a country? Canadians celebrate Canada Day on July 1st. That's the generally accepted birthday of Canada. What are they celebrating? It's not the issuance of a Declaration of Independence like Americans celebrate on the 4th of July. What they are celebrating is the creation of something called the Dominion of Canada. Obviously, your first question will be, what is a dominion? Is it a country? The answer is yes and no. History is full of questions that have to be answered this way. Yes and no. What happened on July 1st of 1867 is that the British government passed the British North America Acts. From this point onward, Canada would have its own Prime Minister. As many Canadians know, the first Prime Minister in Canadian history was Sir John A. Macdonald. The term Prime Minister is sometimes confusing, so let's talk about that for a moment. Why do some countries have presidents and some countries have prime ministers? The answer is pretty simple. A president is the leader of a republic, which means, in simple terms, a society that forms a government without a king. In countries that still have a king or queen, the leader of the elected government is considered a minister of the king. A minister is someone who is appointed to lead the democratic government inside of a monarchy. And yes, Canada still has a monarchy. How can you tell? One easy way you can tell is that Canadian money still has a picture of the former Queen of England and Canada, Queen Elizabeth II. The British North America Acts did not change that. They were not a rejection of British monarchy. They were a law passed with the consent or permission of the British monarchy. It's true that in modern monarchies like Canada, the king or queen does not rule the people. But technically, the monarch is still considered the final authority in government. So the British monarchy agreed to make a set of laws that said that as a reward for loyalty, Canada would be made into a federation of provinces that would be allowed to run its own affairs. It would still be part of the British Empire, but it would have what is often called self-government. That sounds a lot like what Americans wanted in the American Revolution. In a way, what the British were trying to do is to avoid a Canadian Revolution. Most Canadians don't know this about their country, but there almost was a Canadian Revolution. In 1837, there were rebellions against the British government in Canada. These did not grow into a revolution, but Canadians were feeling some of the same frustrations as Americans had felt before by being under the control of Britain. What Canadians wanted, they called responsible government, which means that the government is run by a parliament, not by the king or queen. The people vote, and their representatives get to decide what the laws should be. Since the rebellions of 1837 did not get worse, the British government took its time to figure out what to do. Eventually, it decided that Canada should have its own parliament and be allowed to govern itself. Quite an important difference between Canada and the United States is that Americans have the legacy of a great war against Britain to achieve independence, but Canada does not. It has the story of its loyal participation in the British Empire and its independence as a reward for loyalty. These are quite different lessons. From this point, Canada, like the United States, grew westward. This animated map from Wikipedia shows the results of the growth of Canada as new territories and provinces were added to the country, which eventually became even bigger than the United States, depending on how you measure it. But was the Dominion of Canada a country or not? We still haven't quite explained that, have we? As far as making its own laws, yes, Canada was independent. That's what Canada Day celebrates. That's the yes part of the yes and no answer. but in one very important way, and some other less important ways. The Dominion of Canada was not a country, which is why the word Dominion is so important. It means a territory subject to someone's control. How is Canada still under the control of the British? Find out in the next lesson. Don't forget to grab the entire free Printables package at the Knowable World website. And like and subscribe to this video series to get the next installment of this and other Anchor Facts series as they are released. See you again soon.